Hello, we are on week 3 of the MEEN class. We'll be talking about muscle mass and protein. I am gone during this week. I'm out in Denver, Colorado for a conference. And so the nutrition portion, my 45 minutes will be virtual, but you will still attend with Junius for the exercise portion. So try and get there a little bit earlier. I'm sure you'll have a little bit more time to exercise as you won't be having me holding you up. But yes, come warmed up so that you can go right into exercise as you won't be having to attend the in-person nutrition portion. So protein and metabolism, the decrease in estrogen associated with metabolism is linked to the decrease in muscle mass and bone strength, which causes women in this phase of life to have a higher need for protein. Sarcopenia naturally occurs in all individuals, which just means involuntary skeletal muscle loss with age, and then you naturally just gain more fat, so your muscle to fat ratio changes. It will occur once women hit menopause more drastically than it would in a male throughout the time in their life, but just because of the fact of how menopause decreases your estrogen. So this is an example of a sarcopenic muscle versus a healthy muscle. So on the left, you'll see the muscle is young, healthy thigh muscle, lots of dense muscle mass, which is the lighter gray portion, versus around that is the black, and that's the fat. If you look at the sarcopenic thigh muscle, someone who didn't resistance train, did not eat enough protein, and let their muscle mass decline with age, you'll notice that their muscle mass is less dense, it's significantly less muscle mass volume in general, or just mass, and then there's more black, which means there's just more fat. So the fat to muscle ratio is worse when you have sarcopenia versus when you have more muscle mass and less fat. Sarcopenic bodies will, with the muscle weakness, it can happen in your core, it can happen in your muscles in your arms and your legs, anywhere. So with core weakness, that can lead to back pain, poor posture, loss of deep or complete breathing. So your diaphragm in your rib, underneath your rib cage, is a muscle. If that muscle gets weaker, obviously that can make you not be able to belly breathe as much, which we know is really helpful for us. You don't want to do a lot of chest breathing. You want those deep diaphragmatic breaths. Extremity weakness, like your arms, legs, shoulders, hips, etc., can lead to joint pain, poor posture, decreased bone density, and increased injury risk and lower metabolism. We know that the more muscle mass you have, the higher your metabolism will be because you're burning more calories. You have more muscle mass, you will burn more calories. So the goal is to keep our muscle mass as much as we can for as long as possible. So starting to build that right now, if you have not, or maintaining that if you have already started that process in your younger years. And pelvic floor muscles can also get weaker. They are also muscles, and so that's when incontinence and bladder issues can start occurring. So if you do struggle with that, seeing a physical therapist to help strengthen those pelvic floor muscles can be very, very helpful. So this is just an example with aging and obesity, sarcopenic obesity. You will notice that metabolism goes down, physical activity will go down just because you're not as strong, your sex hormones will go down, you'll have an increase in visceral and ectopic fat, so just fat in all areas of your body, not just around your organs, but in other areas too. And then you will develop insulin resistance, and what that means is when you are insulin resistant, think of it similar to having like pre-diabetes. So when you eat carbs or sugars, your body naturally will release insulin, pull those blood sugars, the sugar out of the blood into the muscles to give you energy, right? That's why we want to have carbs before workouts, because we will literally the insulin will take that sugar from the blood, pull it into the muscles, and we have a boost of energy for an exercise. If your insulin becomes resistant, your insulin will get used to you having blood sugars around, so it is less sensitive. So in sense, you will have blood sugar floating in your vessels the insulin's like, oh, I'm used to it being here, so I'm not going to have the mechanism of grabbing it out and pulling it into the muscles. So in a sense, that blood sugar gets stuck in your blood, giving you prediabetes, right? Where a healthy person would have really productive insulin, pulling it into the muscles and keeping it out of the blood. We know that two things from research can help prevent and reverse sarcopenic obesity with aging, and that's exercise and nutrition. So we know that muscle loss will occur, inflammation and insulin resistance occurs, increase in lipids or fats in your central area, also in your extremities, but more predominantly in your central area. You will naturally have a slower metabolism, so you are in more of a positive energy balance, so you're going to be gaining weight. You have reduced energy expenditure, so you're, like I said, you're going to be burning less calories throughout the day, at rest and during exercise, because your metabolism is just lower. And you're going to have less mobility. So, right, we don't want to have this. So we know that exercise, nutrition, done right, can prevent this. So muscle loss, to prevent that, we can eat more protein for nutrition, and we can resistance train through exercise. To prevent inflammation and insulin resistance, we can eat healthy omega-3 fats and antioxidants, which are from your leafy greens and your really red, blue types of berries, goji berries, pomegranates, cranberries, things like that. And we can also eat more fiber, so from plant-based options like starchy vegetables like peas, corn, potatoes, grains like rice, oats, quinoa, things like that. Those really high fiber foods and fruits and vegetables and stuff can help decrease the spike in your insulin. So it just helps it be more regulated, and that can really benefit you if you are becoming insulin resistant. So you can also help decrease the fat formation by controlling what you eat, right? Eating more nutrient-dense foods, not just very empty calories like processed foods that can not keep you full, but you just eat a lot of calories at one time. Positive energy balance, so if you're eating too many calories because you're not eating really filling calories, very fibrous and high protein ones, you're just eating empty calories, you're going to gain weight because you're not hungry, so you're going to keep eating, right? So you can exercise to burn calories and also eat smart food options to not eat as many calories. So exercise and nutrition can both positively impact that one. Reduce energy expenditure. So if you're becoming more sedentary because you're weaker, you're not burning as much energy, that can occur if you sarcopenia. So you want to make sure you stay strong into your older age so you can exercise, you can go for hikes, you can play with your grandkids, you can burn more energy throughout the day. And then mobility. So decreased mobility leads to increase in fractures and increase in injury. So staying strong, staying mobile, staying flexible through exercise into your older age can really help you prevent those things. So now nutrition and exercise effects on sarcopenia kind of just worded differently for you guys instead of being more in diagram form. So nutrition can help with weight management by utilizing combination of intuitive eating, balanced meals and snacks, and portion control on calorie-dense foods. Exercise can help with weight management through burning calories and increasing metabolism. Maintaining muscle mass can help improve sarcopenia by just consuming sufficient protein and calories. So you need to make sure you're eating enough food to keep that muscle mass on you. And then exercise, we know resistance training improves strength, sarcopenic development, and metabolism by increasing lean body mass. You can improve inflammation through nutrition by eating more omega-3 fats, antioxidant-rich foods, and plant-based foods, which are very anti-inflammatory. And you can prevent immobility with exercise by preventing injuries by strengthening your muscles, which will make your bones stronger as well, and practicing more stabilization and balance exercises, and providing healthier joints. And then insulin sensitivity can be improved from nutrition by consuming high fiber foods, wholesome carbs like fruit, whole grain, starchy vegetables, and legumes like beans and stuff in appropriate amounts. And insulin sensitivity can also be benefited from exercise because when you exercise, you're naturally going to be pulling the sugars into your muscles because you need that for energy. So if you eat something that's a lot of sugar, like a carb, right? Like I said, you want to eat that before exercising because you want to have enough sugar in your blood to pull into your muscles to give you enough energy to work hard throughout that training session. Just wanted to give you some research on this. So there's on the bottom you'll see there's a research article. Those in the low protein group, there was people separated into a lower protein group and a higher protein group. Those in the lower protein group had a higher body fat percentage and fat to lean muscle ratio than those who eat more protein. So outside of resistance training, outside of any exercise, just eating more protein helped them have a better muscle to fat ratio. Upper and lower extremity function was impaired. So in those who had less protein. So those who consume more protein were stronger in upper and lower extremities. Those who consumed less protein were more impaired in function and were weaker in upper and lower extremities. And protein consumption should be considered when evaluating a multifactorial loss of physical function in older women. So not just exercise, but nutrition is such a valuable tool because you can be exercising but not recovering as well from not getting enough protein, and then you're not going to be able to keep that muscle mass up that you're exercising so hard for. So now we're going to go into like, what is protein? How do we eat enough of it? How do we make sure we're getting enough of it? So it helps, protein is needed to help build and repair muscles. You also use it for your red blood cells and other body tissues like enzymes and blood proteins, all those things. So you should be eating a little bit more than 25% of your calories from protein-specific foods. So at least having a quarter of your plate at every meal with a protein on it. More is better, right? So when you're eating a meal, you should have a protein with every meal and a protein with every snack. Your goal for meals should be 20 to 40 grams of protein, and then a snack should be 5 to 20 grams of protein. So if you don't know what that looks like, I do suggest for a week or so utilizing an app like MyFitnessPal or something and just looking at your protein, not looking at other things, just seeing how much protein you're consuming. You might think like, oh, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is my lunch, but you realize one serving of peanut butter, which is 2 tablespoons, only has like 7 grams of protein. That is not sufficient for a meal. So maybe you could add cottage cheese to that, or Greek yogurt to that, or a string cheese to that, something else to improve the protein profile of that meal. This is an example of a full meal or a full plate, so a quarter of protein, half of fruit and vegetables, and then the last quarter is a combination of fiber-rich carbs, healthy fats, and then of course drinking water. So how much protein is needed per day? At least half of your body weight in pounds in grams. So if you are a 180-pound person, you take half of your body weight, that's 90. You want to have at least 90 grams of protein per day for the postmenopausal woman. How much protein can you consume at once? So making sure that you're eating it throughout the day because you'd only consume around 30 to 40 grams of protein into your muscles. Like I said, it goes into other body parts like red blood cells, other cells, enzymes. So protein does go other places in your body. Your muscles themselves can only absorb around 30, 35, maybe 40 grams of protein in one sitting. So that's why it's important to fill up all your muscle stores, right? Eat enough protein, but if you're eating 80 grams in one sitting, or if you're like, oh, I'm just going to eat one giant meal a day, you're not going to be able to reach your protein goal of 90 to 100 grams of protein because you're only going to be consuming 30 to 40 within that one meal. So it's important to be eating multiple meals or snacks a day, ideally around 3 complete meals a day. If you do need to snack, that's fine, but focusing primarily on 3 full meals versus snacking small times throughout the day. So now protein sources, it's beneficial to get a variety of animal sources and plant-based sources. Animal source foods that are really good are fish and seafood, ideally, the fatty types of fish. So salmon, tuna, mackerel, chicken and turkey, such as poultry options. If you like pheasants or other types, that's fine too. Beef and pork, so your red meats. Game meat, so venison, bison, elk, very lean option of meat. Eggs, the whole eggs, so you do also want to have the yolk, that is beneficial. Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are very high protein sources for dairy, and then cheese can be a beneficial dairy option as well, like a string cheese, or if you want to dip like a cheese spread, put that on for like a mayo or something instead. That can add some protein to it. Plant-based options are hemp seeds, chia seeds, legumes and lentils, soy or tempeh, which is fermented soy, nuts and seeds, nut butter such as peanut butter, almond butter, sunflower butter, and hummus. So trying to get a variety of those. So example, if you're having tacos, don't just have beef, have black beans with your ground meat. If you're going to be having a salad and you have chicken breast on top, maybe you could also add some hemp seeds, or maybe you could also add some sunflower seeds or something to just make it have a better profile of plant proteins as well. I wanted to show you, obviously it is important to consume plant-based proteins, very nutrient dense, very anti-inflammatory for your body. We have to be aware though that unfortunately they are lower in protein than meat. So like I said, if you're eating oatmeal for breakfast, that could be like a common thing. I eat oatmeal. You need to add something else with an oatmeal, like a scoop of protein powder in there, or a protein smoothie, or eat a Greek yogurt with it, or 2 boiled eggs or something, because like oatmeal by itself is not going to be sufficient for a meal. Same thing as, I just had black bean tacos. Okay, you might have gotten like 8 to 10 grams of protein in there, but what also could you add? Could you add some, are you vegetarian? Could you add some cheese on top of that? Maybe you could add some like hemp seeds in there. There's tons of, or some tofu, or mix that in there. There's tons of different things you can do to add to it. So just knowing that like you don't have to give up meat, you don't have to only eat plants. Plants are super encouraged, but making sure you're getting a variety of all proteins. If you have vegan or vegetarian options, obviously I encourage those things, so I'm not going to tell you to eat meat if you don't want to, but if you do eat meat, still having a variety of plants and meat, and then making sure you're using smart tactics to at least have 20 grams of proteins in your meals. So if you have like a salmon, or if you have chicken or turkey, like you pretty much just have like that, and that should be sufficient for your meal, right? Like you don't really need to have anything else besides that. You can, but meat by itself is pretty sufficient in getting you enough protein for a meal. Here are different options for proteins that are plant-based. So if you wanted to increase those options, we know that an increase in plant-based protein can help prevent hypertension, heart disease, high cholesterol, obesity, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and cancer. So just lots of different options here for you. Something people don't realize is peas have protein in them. So, peas can be added on top of salads, into casseroles. That could be your vegetable for a night or something. Quinoa has quite a bit of protein in it, so sometimes picking quinoa instead of rice can be helpful. Soy has a lot of protein in it, so having soy milk instead of almond milk in smoothies or with milk or whatever. Like I said, adding black beans to it can be really helpful. Maybe sprinkling in some chickpeas onto salads or in soups, different things like that. So I want you to pause here, and I want you to pause after I read this, I guess, and think of your 3 most consumed protein options. I can tell you mine. So mine are probably salmon, beef, and chicken. Oh, no. Cottage cheese, salmon, and beef, probably. Yeah, I eat a lot of cottage cheese. And Greek yogurt. Oh, I don't know. Okay, for sure salmon. And then honestly, probably cottage cheese and plant-based Greek yogurt. Yeah. Because I do every day for breakfast have um, pretty much a chia pudding with protein powder in there. For a snack when I get home, I generally always have cottage cheese and a dairy-free Greek yogurt. Whereas for my meal preps, it can vary between salmon, beef, chicken, and turkey, generally speaking. 1 to 2 types of proteins that you can incorporate into your diet. So now pause again. If you want to look back at some plant options, that would be helpful for you, or if you want to challenge yourself in different types of fish or meat that you don't generally have. So stop and think of 1 or 2 things you can increase. I know I can increase peas. I forget about peas. And then I do try my best to increase quinoa, but I could do that more often. I'm like really consistent with my rice. So I need to remind myself that like I can replace rice sometimes with quinoa. It's a really good whole grain, but it's also higher in protein. So I need to remind myself of that. And then third thing for you to do would be find a recipe for each protein source. So you need to choose 1 to 2 types of protein that you want to incorporate. So your challenge is to now find a recipe or a way that you can make that in this next week. To challenge yourself to try that. Not just say you're going to do it and not do it, but okay, like figuring out how can I actually implement it into my life. So now moving into snacks. We want to always have 2 components in snacks, a protein and then an other. So your protein, make sure that you're getting a protein throughout your day. It helps regulate your blood sugars, helps increase your metabolism, helps improve recovery if you're exercising frequently. So protein is super important. It can be a different variety of peanut butter. Like I said, you only need 5 to like 20. That's like a really high protein snack, but at least 5 in a snack. So peanut butter would be sufficient. A string cheese would be sufficient. 2 boiled eggs, or even a boiled egg. Greek yogurt, nuts, protein bar, cottage cheese, roasted chickpeas, a tuna packet or a salmon packet that has like 15 to 20 grams of protein, so that would be like a really good high protein snack. Grain-free granola, or adding a protein powder into something, having a protein shake or a smoothie, or like making some protein balls, like some energy balls, but adding protein powder into it so it has a little bit more protein profile. And then your non-protein option can be your fruits, your vegetables, whole grain crackers, oatmeal, whole grain toast, pretzels, granola bars, dried fiber-rich cereal, dried fruit that's unsweetened, homemade breakfast cookies or bars, popcorn, guacamole, rice cakes, pita chips, snack bars, etc. So incense, anything else that does not contain protein. And if you want to pair 2 proteins together, if you're like, I want boiled eggs and string cheese, by all means do that. That's fine, but you at least have to have 1 protein source in your snack. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to eat strawberries or I'm just going to eat crackers. That's going to spike your blood sugars and not keep them like stable. So now I want you to pause after this again. So think about 3 to 4 snacks that your family or whoever lives in your household would enjoy on a weekly basis. So you can include foods that were on the previous slide. You can also think of other foods that maybe weren't on the previous slide, as you're not limited to just that list. But pause and think of 3 to 4 realistic snacks, not being like, oh, I'm gonna have cottage cheese and canned peaches, but no one in your house likes cottage cheese. Think of things that you actually would implement. Because I don't want you to spend money on things if you're not going to use them. So if you're a person that is looking to amp up protein, you feel like this is an area that you really need to benefit from more. If you decide that you, right off the bat, you don't eat enough, or maybe after tracking for a week, you're like, oh, I thought I was doing a lot better, but I'm actually not. Here's ways that you can add more protein into your meals. So adding a scoop of protein powder and peanut butter to oatmeal, or PB2 to oatmeal, super delicious. Using hummus as a veggie dip instead of ranch or dill dip. Add a scoop of protein powder, Greek yogurt, or cottage cheese into smoothies. adding black beans to Hispanic style dishes, like if you're making tacos, if you're having guacamole or taco salad, even just taco dip, throw some black beans on there. That can make it a little bit more fibrous, a little bit more high in protein. Have quinoa as a whole grain side. Use grain-free granola versus regular granola, so there's more seeds and nuts in those. Use soy milk instead of almond milk in smoothies. Add protein powder to waffles, pancakes, muffins, and energy balls. Whenever I make pancakes, I always put protein in them, because in your meals you should always have a protein, a carb, a fat, and a nutrient, right? So pancakes generally don't have protein in them. So you can just add protein to the pancake batter and it makes it delicious. You can get a flavor. I have peanut butter flavored protein, so like it makes it super delicious, creamy, and peanut buttery, but also makes it more of a complete meal. So it's not just high in carbs, it also has enough protein now. Eat Greek yogurt instead of regular Yoplait yogurt or the regular non-Greek type. I know some people don't like the texture of that, but it can help you get more protein in, whereas a regular yogurt probably has like 2 grams of protein, where a Greek yogurt has like 12 to 15. Top a salad with cottage cheese for dressing, or make your own type of creamy ranch dressing with blending up cottage cheese in a food processor with a ranch packet. And if you like add water to make it the consistency that you like, that's a really awesome option, or just adding seeds and nuts on top of salads as well. And then adding just a protein shake to your day for a snack, or adding it to a breakfast, if you're like, I just really struggle for breakfast. I love oatmeal and I don't have protein powder to add, or I don't want to have boiled eggs with it. How can you add that fourth component? How can you add in that protein? You can buy from Costco or Sam's, wherever you buy, like a 30-pack case of Premier Protein or Orgain or Muscle Milk for a pretty affordable price. So if you don't have a Costco or Sam's membership, maybe someone you know does, and they could help get that for you. So now I want you to stop and think about 3 to 4 ways that you personally can amp up the protein in food you already eat. Like I said, when I make pancakes, I add protein powder because I'm going to be eating pancakes. I want them. Why not add protein powder to them? I also, in the morning, always have protein chia pudding for work. So I mix almond milk and I put chia seeds in there. Chia seeds do have protein, but I'll also put collagen and protein powder in there. Both of those have protein in them. So those are ways that I increase the protein consumption of that. I could use soy milk instead of almond milk if I wanted to, but I like almond milk. Other ways, like I went through a lot of examples, I feel like here, so just kind of pausing and thinking about how you could do that. So now getting into protein supplementation, I am a huge fan of protein powder. I'm not a person who's just gonna like drink it as a shake like some people do, that's fine. I just don't, but I love having it to mix it into things that generally are not a higher profile food, like oatmeal and pancakes and muffins and things like that. So you might question, okay, is protein powder or protein supplementation necessary? No, it is not. It is not necessary to survive. Eating sufficient amount of protein is necessary to survive. If you don't get enough protein without supplementing, then it is very helpful for you to help get to your protein goal. So I don't think that I don't think I would reach a protein goal if I didn't add that in, because my chia pudding in the morning wouldn't have sufficient protein amounts. If I would make oatmeal and I didn't add that protein powder in, my oatmeal wouldn't have sufficient protein for that meal. So I don't personally think that I would be able to reach it without it. But are there other ways to get protein? Absolutely, like boiled eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, fish, etc. So if you are shopping for supplements, what are the options? So you can get it in powder form. So if you wanted to drink a protein smoothie, you just mix like almond milk or some sort of milk or water with protein powder and use a frother and you mix it up. It can also just be added to the dried ingredients, the powdered ingredients for recipes. Otherwise, protein shakes, which are pre-mixed shakes, they are like in cartons, and you just open the cap and drink them. That's where you can get at Costco. They're a little bit more expensive per serving, but they're very, very efficient to bring with you. You just throw them in your lunchbox. My husband and myself probably both drink them a couple times a week for sure, especially if I know I'm going to be working out and I need to have more protein that day. And then there's different types of protein supplements. So if you can tolerate dairy, you can do whey. So whey comes from cow's milk. Some of you may not be able to tolerate dairy, or you just want to increase your plant protein. So I'm a huge fan of increasing plant protein wherever I can. I also am lactose intolerant, so I choose vegan protein because I cannot consume cow protein. It gives me gas and stuff. Although I do truly think even if I could consume whey protein, I probably personally would still use vegan, just because, like, why not increase your plant proteins as much as you can, because I know I do eat meat and fish quite a bit, so I'm trying to increase that side of things for myself. But absolutely both work well. So now we're to the end of the presentation. I'm sorry I'm not able to answer the questions live, but you guys can feel free to email me. I'm going to be sending this presentation to you early, so throughout the week you can email me back to this email questions, thoughts, concerns that you will have. Otherwise, write them down and I will be back the next week and I will be able to answer them in person for you. If you want to try asking Junius them, you absolutely can too. I don't know how much she'll be able to help you with it, but she's pretty intelligent with the nutrition side of things as well, so she might be able to help you with some things. But I hope you guys have a really great day.